What's new this month at Rogers Railroad Junction? With the holidays behind us, we're ringing in the new year with new merchandise. And we're getting the New Year's ball rolling with Union Pacific turbines from Genesis. One of the more notable results of the UP's bigger is better motive power philosophy, the 55 turbines in the fleet were known for three things: impressive power, lousy gas mileage, and being just about the loudest thing on the railroad. Hey, it's a jet engine running this thing after all. Although successful in meeting and even exceeding expectations in terms of pulling capacity, their insatiable appetite for fuel made them less than cost-effective, and their excessive noise pollution got them banned from within the limits of many major cities. Ultimately, these shortcomings were too much to be outweighed by the benefits of increased tractive effort, and the last of the big blows, as they were known, were withdrawn to standby service at the Cheyenne Roundhouse by the autumn of 1969. This fine model includes full roof detail, realistic AAR Type B trucks with span bolsters, a 22,000-gallon auxiliary fuel tender, added in 1955 to increase effective range, working headlight, Mars light, and classification lights, and even a working backup light. Also included are a skew-wound motor and a Tsunami digital control system for that big blow turbine sound. Bring in the noise, bring in the funk. And then there's the SD75i, also from Genesis. Mechanically identical to EMD's standard 4,300 horsepower SD75, the I designation denotes an isolated cab, designed to reduce engine and track vibration. This can be seen in the form of a rubber flange running vertically down the side of the nose. 207 such units would be built during the late 1990s, and the isolated design would eventually become a standard feature on all EMD products. Built using the Genesis dual flywheel drive line with a 5-pole skew-wound motor, full DC and sound are available to make this ultra-detailed model complete. Following our new power selections, we're expanding our freight car inventory with several new boxcar offerings, starting with KD and Pullman Standard Model 1 cars. In use from the 1920s onward, KD has built these utilitarian cars with sliding doors, wire mesh roof walks, and plenty of other details. Then there's 40-foot grain boxcars from Athern's Roundhouse line. In an age before the advent of the covered hopper, boxcars such as these were the primary haulers of bulk grain. Their granular cargo would be shot in through one of the small doors near the top of the main door, and then unloaded by simply opening the larger door and letting gravity do what it does best. These particular models feature empty roof walk brackets on their ends, marking them as post-1966 rebuilds. Overall, they pair well with 50-foot double-door boxcars, also from Roundhouse. Available with faded paint and re-stenciled reporting marks on some cars, these models represent some of the most modern boxcar designs seen on the rails today, and are typically found hauling major appliances and automotive parts. And they're an interesting comparison against the slightly smaller 40-foot double-door boxcars on offer from the Ready to Roll line. Available in multiple numbers for each road name, cars like this were once some of the most common sights on American rails, but have since largely been replaced by containerized traffic. Then there's 40-foot stock cars, the more airy and somewhat smellier cousins of the boxcar, direct from Walters. Largely replaced by trucks today, thousands of cars such as this one once roamed the vast expanses between southwestern rangelands and northern meatpacking plants, keeping America's appetite for all things red and bloody well sated. And then there's the lowly boxcar's cooler cousin, in the form of 40-foot refrigerator cars from Intermountain. Whereas stock cars fed America's appetite for meat, reefer cars like these fed her appetite for fresh produce, and once roamed American rails by the tens of thousands. Available in multiple versions of the iconic Pacific Fruit Express livery, minute differences in prototype are faithfully observed, including wooden versus aluminum grate roof walks on specific cars. And for a slightly more modern, and potentially inebriating twist, Ham's beer reefers are also available in both HO and N scale. Part of a special run by Athearn, features include details such as etched metal crossover platforms, freestanding ladders, and machined metal wheels. It's an eye-catching addition to any collection, or a good example of what happens when you leave your train out in the rain and it shrinks. Moving on to our Tanks for the Memories department, 11,000-gallon riveted tank cars are available from both KD and Walthers. A product of the transition era, when steam was just giving way to diesel power on American railroads, cars like these were the primary haulers of bulk liquid cargo well into the 1970s, and even the early 80s in some cases, with many cars being modified and reassigned to maintenance of way service in their waning years. This forms a counterpoint of sorts to our selection of shorty beer can tank cars from Ready to Roll. At only 8,000 gallons each, cars such as these are hardly impressive, but they nonetheless form a vital transportation link, primarily hauling small batches of liquid commodities to customers who don't require the volume of a full-size car. Built by the North American Car Corporation in the 1970s, many of these cars were still in service as of the late 90s. Special features include highly detailed printing on all of the relevant car data, and differing couplers depending on prototype. The Type E double shelf coupler on the left is required for hauling hazardous materials, while the more typical Type D on the right is for non-hazmat loads. Moving on into dry goods transport, we have wood chip hoppers, also from Ready to Roll. Featuring the extended sides commonly found on such cars, sawdust, bark chips, and basically any other byproduct of the lumber industry would be a common cargo for these open-top haulers. And then there's the hardtop version, being delivered in the form of covered cement hoppers from KD and air slide hoppers from Ready to Roll. Developed in the early 1950s, covered hoppers can carry most any climate-sensitive bulk commodity, from cement to concrete to clay. Air slide hoppers, on the other hand, are a more recent innovation. Designed to carry flour, cornstarch, and other finely powdered materials, they use an innovative pneumatic unloading system to discharge their cargoes without clumping or jamming. All of these products feature knuckle couplers and metal wheels, with some offering added features like wire-formed ladders and grab irons, metal mesh catwalks, operating doors and hatches, and additional lettering per the prototype. And finally, as a final note from the Athearn Roundhouse line, wide vision cupola cabooses. Available in a wide variety of liveries and configurations, these perennial tail-end Charlies are all but gone today, with exceptions typically coming in the form of cars converted into shoving platforms for switching operations, as is the case with the model depicted here. Comes complete and ready to run with knuckle couplers and metal wheels. But as always, there's so much more in our store than what we can show you here. So drop on by and see what else is new at Rogers Railroad Junction today.